Why do you buy crap you don't need, tip people you don't even like, and say yes when you want to scream hell no? Because you're not rational, you're programmed. And the world, it's full of expert manipulators who know exactly how to press your buttons, and they don't even have to try that hard. You think you make decisions, you don't. You react, you fall for a free sample, you obey the guy in a lab coat, you follow the crowd like a sheep in a Black Friday riot. In this video, we're taking a tactical sledgehammer to your mind with the help of one of the most dangerous books ever written, Influence by Robert B. Cialdini, the book that marketers, scammers, cult leaders, and political strategists use to control your decisions before you even open your mouth. Sound extreme? That's because it is. And if you don't watch this, you'll keep being manipulated. So stay locked in, because once you see the strings, you can stop being the puppet. Before we dive in, a quick legal disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. It falls under the Fair Use Act and is intended to transform, analyze, and comment on Robert B. Cialdini's work, not to replace it. If you want the full psychological arsenal, go buy the book. Seriously, buy it. Now, let's talk about the man who cracked the code behind why you say yes when you really mean no. Robert B. Cialdini is a social psychologist who wrote Influence as a result of being sick and tired of getting manipulated himself. Yeah, the dude admits he's been a sucker all his life, but instead of crying about it, he went undercover. He infiltrated used car lots, charity call centers, and sales seminars to find out how professional persuaders get people, including you, to bend, break, and buy. The result? A book that exposes 7 psychological principles that are basically mind control cheat codes. And here's the real twist. You use them too, whether you realize it or not. So here's what we're going to do. We're breaking down the 7 psychological levers of power Cialdini reveals in this book. But we're not just summarizing, we're calling you out, confronting the BS, and showing how you're being influenced every single day, and how to fight back. Welcome to Mindful Reads Hub. Let's get started. Give to get, the magic of exchange. You know what's wild? You think you're generous because it's nice. But here's the truth bomb. Generosity is just your brain calculating ROI in advance. You don't give because you're kind. You give because you're playing chess, whether you realize it or not. And the masters of persuasion, they know this rule better than you know your Netflix password. They play it like Mozart played piano. We're talking about reciprocation, the most primitive, hardwired law of influence on earth. You give someone a mint at a restaurant and their tip goes up by 14%. 2 mints, 20%. Think about that. For the price of Tic Tacs, you get people to open their wallets. But that's not even the scary part. The scary part is people will fight you emotionally and cognitively just to restore balance. If you give them something, even something they didn't ask for, didn't want, and didn't like, they will feel this intense, burning urge to repay you. This isn't kindness, it's obligation dressed up as manners. The rule of reciprocation is so baked into human DNA, we don't even see it. And guess what? That makes you ripe for manipulation. Cialdini doesn't just say, people give back what they get. He proves it with real-world traps. Hare Krishnas handing out flowers in airports just to trigger the urge to give back. They made millions. Not because people cared about Krishna, they just didn't want to feel like freeloaders. You see this every time you're handed a free sample. That free cookie at the grocery store, that's not a treat. It's a trigger. You walk out with $12 worth of stuff you didn't plan to buy. Why? Because some dude in a hairnet gave you half a brownie and said, try this. Now add liking to the equation and you've got a psychological Molotov cocktail. The more we like someone, the more we trust them. But here's the catch. Liking doesn't mean respect. It doesn't even mean you know them. You just think they look like you, act like you, or laugh at your dumb jokes. That's it. Salespeople have known this for years. They don't sell products, they sell themselves. That's why your friend who joined an MLM suddenly started complimenting your hair and inviting you to brunch again. Not because they missed you, because they want you to buy essential oils and pretend it's a business opportunity. We like people who flatter us, who are attractive, who share our names or our birthdays or our weird obsession with sea otters. It's pathetic, really. We want to say we're logical, autonomous adults, but our behavior is embarrassingly primal. Cialdini shows how Tupperware parties didn't succeed because of the product. They worked because your friend invited you, and you didn't want to disappoint her, or look cheap, or seem like a bad friend. So you bought overpriced plastic containers just to keep the social harmony intact. Let that sit for a second. You spent your money not on value, but on social peace. You think you're immune? You're not. You're just untested. Every time someone says, "I thought of you when I saw this," and hands you something, boom, trap set. You're now in the psychological debt spiral. Your only way out? Give back, buy, say yes, comply. But here's the rub. People who understand this principle can game it. They can use small acts of fake generosity to get disproportionate influence. It's persuasion warfare. And most people are bringing a toothpick to a gunfight. If you're smart, you'll flip this weapon in your favor. Give strategically, compliment authentically, but with purpose. Use presence, attention, and generosity not as passive virtues, but as tactical assets. Because the moment someone feels they owe you, you own the leverage. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about manipulation for manipulation's sake. This is about recognizing the game you're already in and playing it like you know the rules. Because everyone else, they're already playing it on you. Here's the secret most people don't want to admit. You don't need to be rich, powerful, or famous to be persuasive. You just need to make people feel seen, give before you ask, and show up in ways they aren't expecting. That's how you build influence. That's how you create value before extracting it. And that's how you win, not just in marketing, not just in relationships, but in life. Stop thinking persuasion is evil. It's neutral. A hammer can build a house or cave in a skull. It's all about who's holding it. Influence is the same. You want to be persuasive? Then earn the right to be heard by being someone people want to hear from. And if you don't want to play the game, fine. Just know the game will still play you. Key takeaway. If you want people to say yes, stop asking, start giving. Give real value, show real interest, and build real rapport. When people feel understood and appreciated, they'll open their wallets, minds, and loyalty willingly. Influence begins with generosity, and the first move, yours. Favorite quote: people will often go to great lengths to avoid the feeling of indebtedness. Follow the herd, find the exit. You think you're a free thinker, a rebel, a logical individual, but here's the hard truth. You're not. You're just really good at copying other people and calling it decision making. You don't buy a product because you researched it. You buy it because it has 8,000 5-star reviews and your friend Gary said it's amazing. You don't laugh at a joke because it's funny. You laugh because the room laughed and you're terrified of being the weird one sitting in silence. And the worst part, that instinct to follow the herd doesn't just make you safe, it makes you a target. Cialdini calls it social proof, but let's be real. This is monkey see, monkey do psychology with a PhD label. It's the principle that when we're unsure of what to do, we look around and copy whoever looks the most sure of themselves. Not the smartest person, not the right person, just the most visible one. Remember those viral videos where people in a waiting room randomly stand up when a bell rings because everyone else does? They're not staged. That's you. That's us. We would rather betray our instincts than be the one person in the room doing something different. Because evolution told us, the tribe keeps you alive. Isolation gets you eaten. Marketers don't need to outthink you. They just need to surround you with planted popularity. Slap bestseller on it. Add a people also bought banner. Flood a website with fake reviews and influencer praise. You'll be next in line like it's Black Friday at Walmart. Cialdini shows this with eerie clarity. In hotels, signs that said 75% of guests reuse towels worked way better than ones that said save the planet. Why? Because we don't care about the planet. We care about being like everyone else. That's the real religion, but let's up the ante. Because now we're not just dealing with social proof, we're dealing with unity. And unity is far more dangerous because social proof is about what people do. Unity is about who people are. You trust people more when they feel like your people. You'll ignore facts, logic, even morality, just to stay bonded to your group. Sound familiar? It's why people vote against their own interests, why they join cults, why you'll believe a stranger online with your same hometown and dog breed over a qualified expert, because they're like you, and in today's world, similarity trumps substance every single time. Unity is why brands try to feel like communities, why movements feel like identities, why your CrossFit gym has its own language and culture. It's not a workout, it's a lifestyle, it's belonging, and when people feel like they belong, they stop asking questions, they just comply. Here's the kicker. The moment people sense they're inside the group, they'll do anything to maintain that status, even if it means abandoning truth, even if it means silencing doubt, because being part of something feels better than being right. Cialdini shows how shared experiences, even small ones, amplify persuasion. You don't need decades of trust, just one moment of you and me, we're the same. Once that switch flips, it's over. You're not persuading a mind anymore. You're persuading a tribal identity, and that's damn near bulletproof. Want to see this in action? Watch a Facebook argument. Watch political rallies. Watch what happens when someone dares challenge a belief inside a group. They're not debating. They're defending turf. Influence becomes about protecting the tribe. Facts become weapons. Unity becomes a force field. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't wake up to this, you're not a free agent. You're just a member of the audience clapping because the other people are clapping. And the scariest part, you'll swear it was your idea. So how do you flip this power instead of being steamrolled by it? You manufacture ethical proof. You make it easy for others to see that people like them already made the leap you're asking them to make. You align yourself with your audience, not above them. You stop preaching and start connecting. You tell people, you're not alone. Others like you have walked this path. You belong. And at the same time, you resist the seduction of blind belonging. You question the group. You choose principles over popularity, because unity can build nations, but it can also build echo chambers that turn people into parrots. You're not as original as you think, and that's fine if you know it. But if you keep pretending you're immune to crowd behavior, you'll never be more than a mirror reflecting everyone else's confusion. The crowd isn't always right, but it's always loud. So make damn sure the voice you're following is your own. Key takeaway: people don't follow logic, they follow other people. When everyone's doing it, we assume it's right. When we feel part of a group, we stop asking questions. Use social proof to align your message with behavior. Use unity to align your message with identity. But don't get swallowed by the same force you're trying to wield. Favorite quote: we will use the actions of others to decide on proper behavior for ourselves, especially when we view those others as similar to ourselves. Respect the badge, question the man. Let's be real. Most people don't want to think. They want to be told. They crave someone in a uniform to give them permission, to act, to buy, to believe, to obey. Not because they're stupid, but because authority feels like a shortcut through uncertainty. It feels safe. It feels final. You see a doctor in a white coat and suddenly you trust their opinion on your sleep, your diet, your existential dread, even if that coat came from a Halloween store. This is what Cialdini drills into your brain with surgical clarity. Authority is a drug, a symbol, a script, and the people who wield it don't even need to be right. They just need to look the part. You'll nod, you'll follow, you'll open your wallet and shut your skepticism. Because our brains are wired to equate authority with credibility, truth, and danger avoidance. Remember the infamous Milgram experiment? A man in a lab coat told people to shock strangers to dangerous levels, and they did. Not because they were psychopaths, because he looked official, he acted confident, the room smelled like science, boom, authority. Just like that, everyday people morphed into obedient machines. This wasn't some 1960s anomaly. It's your brain on autopilot. Cialdini tells you flat out, titles, clothes, and trappings trigger compliance. You see doctor or CEO, and suddenly every word out of their mouth sounds like gospel. But the problem? These symbols are easy to fake. Anyone can rent a suit, print a business card, buy a blue checkmark, or slap expert on their Instagram bio. The performance is all it takes. And you, smart, educated, self-proclaimed critical thinker, fall for it anyway. Because your trust isn't always earned, it's triggered. And when you stack authority with scarcity, the manipulation goes nuclear. Think about it. When something is scarce, it doesn't just gain value, it hijacks urgency. Our brains read limited as important, rare as worth it, almost gone as get it before someone else does. Cialdini illustrates this with eerie precision. Cookie jars. Same cookies. One jar has 10, the other has 2. People rate the jar with 2 higher. Why? Not taste, not texture, just availability. The less there is, the more we want it. Sound familiar? Think about Black Friday stampedes. Think about only 3 seats left banners. Think about Tinder bios that say, I'm barely on here. Scarcity doesn't just create desire, it manufactures obsession. You're not buying because you love it. You're buying because you're terrified it will disappear. And when these two weapons, authority and scarcity, combine, that's when shit gets dangerous. That's when a blue check mark tells you a coin is the next Bitcoin. That's when a man in a suit tells you to invest in a miracle product, and you do, fast, because spots are limited, and he used to work at Google. That's how scams work. That's how cults work. That's how shady gurus funnel your savings into their beachfront mansion and call it abundance. What Cialdini reveals is this: urgency plus trust equals control. Authority makes you lower your guard. Scarcity makes you speed up your decisions. And both together make you act against your own interest, just to not miss out or disrespect the messenger. But here's the uncomfortable mirror moment. You're not just a victim of this. You use it too. Ever told someone, I don't usually offer this? Ever dressed sharper before a pitch? Ever name dropped or used phrases like studies show? You're playing the same game. You're pressing the same buttons. And the truth is, when used ethically, these are tools. Tools to move people past hesitation. Tools to spotlight real value. But when used manipulatively, they're hacks that exploit mental shortcuts for quick wins and long-term regret. So what do you do with this power? You wield it with self-awareness. You ask, am I using authority to inform or to dominate? Am I creating urgency or manufacturing panic? Am I showing value or just playing dress up in influence drag? And more importantly, who am I listening to and why? Is it because they've proven something? Or just because they look the part, speak confidently, or posted a video with a private jet? It's easy to trust the title. It's harder to trust the truth, because truth requires effort, thinking, scrutiny, discomfort, and most people would rather feel certain than be right, but not you. You're here, you're learning, you're seeing the strings. So next time someone in a lab coat offers you magic, or a countdown clock screams, only 15 seconds left, pause, breathe, ask, do I want this? Or am I just afraid to miss it? Because real authority doesn't demand respect, it earns it. And real value isn't scarce by design, it's just hard to fake. Key takeaway: people obey titles and chase limited offers not because they're irrational, but because their brains are wired to shortcut danger and maximize gain. The key to ethical influence is to use authority to inform, not dominate, and use urgency to clarify, not coerce. When trust and scarcity meet, you either lead wisely or manipulate blindly. Choose wisely. Favorite quote: the appearance of authority is often enough to gain compliance, even when the authority is false, flawed, or fabricated. Make a deal, commit for life. You ever say yes to something small, like signing a petition, clicking a subscribe button, or saying, sure, I'll check it out, and then wake up weeks later knee-deep in a monthly payment plan, committed to something you barely even wanted in the first place? Yeah, you didn't get hacked, you got harvested. That tiny yes? That was the seed, and you've been watering it ever since. People think consistency is a virtue. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's often just a disguise for mental laziness. Because once we make a decision, even a small one, we will fight, sometimes irrationally, to appear consistent with it. Why? because backtracking makes us feel foolish, because changing our minds feels like defeat, because in our heads, flip-flopping means we're weak. So we double down, we convince ourselves, and worst of all, we dig in deeper the more public our first yes was. Cialdini calls it commitment and consistency, but make no mistake, this isn't about strength of character, it's about autopilot obedience. If someone can get you to say yes to one tiny, harmless, easy to swallow thing, they've already cracked your armor. All they have to do now is let your own psychology do the rest of the work. He tells the story of researchers who had people agree to put up a small sign in their window, "Drive safe." Seemed innocent. Then, a few weeks later, they came back and asked if those same people would put a giant, ugly billboard in their front yard. And guess what? The people who agreed to the small sign were way more likely to agree to the massive one. Why? Because they wanted to stay true to their previous decision. They wanted to be consistent. The moment we choose something, even a tiny thing, we start to own it. We reinforce it. We wrap our identity around it. We stop evaluating. We start justifying. And that's how one "sure, why not" turns into blind loyalty, financial commitment, or full-blown self-deception. Because the brain wants harmony, not truth. It wants the pieces of the story to match, even if the plot is total nonsense. Now add instant influence to the mix, and the trap tightens fast. Here's where it gets even more twisted. Sometimes you don't even need time. You just need a moment. Cialdini talks about click, whir, a concept that describes how our brains are built with pre-programmed behavior. Someone pushes the right button and boom, the program runs. No thought, no hesitation, just pure robotic compliance. Think of it like this. You say yes to a free trial. The timer starts ticking. Before long, you're paying monthly for a thing you forgot you had, because unsubscribing feels like work, feels like changing your mind, feels like admitting you got played. You didn't make a decision, you got triggered. This is how con artists, marketers, sales pros, and political strategists win. They're not debating you. They're not out-arguing you. They're not even persuading you. They're just getting that first yes, that tiny crack in the wall, and letting your mind finish the demolition job for them. And it's not just sales. Think relationships. Think identity. Think ideology. Once someone says, "I'm the kind of person who," they're hooked. That identity anchors them, and they'll warp reality to fit it, because people don't want to be right. They want to feel right. They want to look right, even if it means holding on to garbage beliefs with white-knuckle devotion. Here's where this gets weaponized. If you want someone to agree to something big, start small. Ask for a favor, a signature, a yes, not because it gets you the outcome right away, but because it lays the foundation for every yes that comes after it. Their brain will take over. Their desire to be consistent will smooth out the bumps. They'll talk themselves into the bigger ask just to stay aligned with their first decision. But here's the twist. This principle doesn't make you a manipulator. It makes you human. You do this too. Every time you defend a decision just because it's yours. Every time you reject something new just because it contradicts something old. Every time you stay in a job, a friendship, or a belief system you've outgrown, just because it's what you chose back then. That's not strength. That's stubbornness dressed up as discipline. If you're smart, you'll stop pretending your decisions are holy and start checking if they still make sense. If you're bold, you'll break from the herd even when your ego begs you not to. If you're ruthless in the best way, you'll build your influence strategy on this truth. People don't follow the truth. They follow their past decisions. Want to persuade? Don't sell the end. Sell the first step. Get agreement early. Make it public. Make it personal. Make it feel voluntary. Then watch the dominoes fall, not because you forced them, but because the person wants to stay in alignment with their own self-image. But also, protect yourself. Don't confuse consistency with wisdom. Don't keep feeding a habit just because it used to make sense. And don't stay loyal to a belief just because you posted it 5 years ago. Growth doesn't always look consistent. Sometimes it looks like admitting you were wrong. That's not weakness, that's control. Key takeaway. One small yes can anchor a lifetime of behavior. People want to appear consistent, especially to themselves. That desire is stronger than logic, stronger than truth, and stronger than fear. Influence isn't about convincing someone all at once. It's about starting small and letting their mind finish the job. Favorite quote: once we have made a choice or taken a stand, we will encounter personal and interpersonal pressures to behave consistently with that commitment. Become the person they want to follow. Let's close this out the only way we should. Bold, brutal, relevant, and brutally relevant. We've hit every lever of influence up to this point, but now it's time to flip the perspective. This is where we stop asking, how do they manipulate us? And start asking, how do I use this without becoming the monster? Because knowing the weapons is one thing, wielding them with integrity, that's a whole different beast. You've got the tools now: reciprocity, liking, social proof, unity, authority, scarcity, commitment. You can walk into a room and bend minds like Neo dodging bullets, not because you're flashy, but because you understand how people really work. But here's the problem. Most people, once they figure out they can move others, stop giving a damn about why. They trade strategy for seduction. They abandon principle for persuasion. They forget that just because you can doesn't mean you should. You become a master manipulator, a dopamine dealer, a puppet master. Congratulations, you're now part of the problem. Cialdini doesn't want you to become a trickster. He's not arming you to scam your way through life. He's handing you a scalpel and saying, don't use this like a knife, use it like a surgeon. The tools of influence are neutral. You're not. If you're building influence on lies, exaggeration, or coercion, you're not a persuader, you're a fraud with a mask. But if you're building it on truth, clarity, and mutual benefit, now you're dangerous in the best way. You're the person others want to follow, not because you're manipulating them, but because you actually make sense. You're real. You deliver. You walk your talk. People follow people they trust. They remember those who stand for something. Not gimmicks, not countdown timers, not limited time offers. Real character, real clarity, real conviction. So instead of asking, how do I get more people to say yes? Try this. Am I the kind of person they should be saying yes to? That's the difference between short-term tricks and long-term influence, between a pitch and a legacy. Cialdini ends this book not by celebrating clever tactics, but by warning you, if you're not grounded, you'll become the thing you hate. The greedy sales guy, the manipulative boss, the charming sociopath in the Facebook ad with 12 Lamborghinis and 0 morals. And you'll justify it. You'll say, I'm just using psychology. No, you're using people, but it doesn't have to go that way, because the real flex is building influence that lasts, that doesn't crumble the second you're not in the room. That's earned, not extracted. That's built on understanding, not deception, and don't get it twisted. This book isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the most persuasive, powerful version of yourself. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, the clearest, the one who understands what others want so well, they trust you before you even ask. Because real influence, it's not about tricks, it's not about speed, it's about alignment between your words, your values, and your actions. Get that right, and you don't have to chase influence anymore. You become it. So stop treating this like a bag of hacks. Start treating it like a blueprint for real leadership. Stop chasing followers. Become the person worth following. That's what this is about. That's what influence is really about. Not how to fake it, but how to become it. Key takeaway: influence is not about manipulation. It's about mastery, not of others, but of yourself. The moment you stop using these tools to look smart and start using them to serve, to build, and to lead, that's when you become truly persuasive. You don't need to push, you just need to align. Real influence isn't trickery, it's integrity at scale. Favorite quote: the truly influential person is not someone who simply knows the weapons of influence. It's someone who understands when not to use them. Conclusion: you've just been handed the blueprint of human behavior, not the watered-down fluff your school counselor tried to sell you. The real stuff, the dirty stuff, the uncomfortable reality that you're not as logical, independent, or above it all as you pretend to be. And if you're thinking, well, I'm smarter than this, Congratulations, you've just proved the point, because the second you think you're immune to influence, you're already infected. This book isn't about tricks, it's a mirror. And if you didn't flinch at least once, you weren't paying attention. So here's the call to action, the dare, the punchline. Use what you've learned, but don't be a fraud. Don't become the kind of person who uses human psychology to take without giving, push without purpose, or manipulate just to win. That's not power. That's insecurity with a Wi-Fi connection. Instead, lead, serve, persuade because you can, not because you have to. Become the kind of person whose influence doesn't vanish when they stop talking, but echoes because it was built on truth. Now, if this woke you up, go buy the damn book. Don't just sponge off this video, support the work, read the full thing, and actually absorb what Cialdini's laying down. And if you want more like this, more that cuts the noise and actually teaches you how to escape the ordinary, flip the script, and build a life no one can ignore, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, share it with someone too comfortable, or better yet, someone too manipulative. And remember, influence isn't about control, it's about clarity. Use it, or be used. Your call.